My beloved child, I saw you in the waiting. I saw the days when you tried to look strong, even though something inside you was tired. I saw the smile you gave to others while your heart was quietly asking me how much longer you would have to carry this. I saw you wake up and keep going. You handled what needed to be handled. You answered people. You showed up. You cared for others. You did what was expected of you. But deep inside, there were moments when you wondered who was caring for you. I was. I was there, my child. I saw every part of it. I saw the nights when the room became quiet and the thoughts became louder. I saw you replay conversations. I saw you question decisions. I saw you wonder whether you had missed something, whether you had taken a wrong turn, whether the delay was somehow your fault. There were moments when you looked at the lives of others and wondered why they seemed to be moving while you remained in the same place. Their doors opened, their prayers seemed answered, their lives appeared to be changing, and you tried to be happy for them. You really did. But sometimes their blessing reminded you of what you were still waiting for. I saw that too, and I never condemned you for it. I knew the ache beneath the question. Lord, what about me? My child, I heard you, even when you did not say the words aloud. I heard the prayer behind the silence. I heard the questions hidden beneath your worship. I heard the exhaustion inside your faith. And I want you to understand something today. You were never invisible to me, not for one moment. When you felt overlooked, I saw you. When you felt forgotten, I remembered you. When you thought your prayers were disappearing into silence, they were reaching my heart. You measured that season by what did not happen. I measured it by what was happening inside you. Every day you kept walking, something was growing. Every time you chose not to give up, endurance was taking root. Every time you whispered my name when you had no strength for a longer prayer, your heart was learning where to return. You thought you were barely surviving. But I saw faithfulness. You thought your faith had become small, but I saw a faith that remained when feelings could no longer carry it. That matters to me, more than you know. Faith is not only found in the moments when you feel strong. Sometimes faith is simply waking up again. Sometimes it is praying one more prayer. Sometimes it is saying, Lord, I do not understand, but I am still here. And my child, you were still there. You did not always feel brave, but you stayed. You did not always understand me, but some part of your heart kept reaching toward me. That quiet reaching was precious in my sight. So do not despise the version of yourself that struggled through those days. Do not look back and call that person weak. I call that person faithful. You carried questions and still kept a place for me. You carried disappointment and still hoped. You carried wounds and still found ways to love. You were tired, but you did not completely close your heart. That is not weakness. That is evidence that my hand was holding you even when you could not feel it. Stay close to me now, my child. Do not turn away simply because the waiting lasted longer than you expected. Let me show you what your eyes could not see. Let me show you what I was doing in the places where you thought nothing was happening. Because while you were watching the door, I was watching your heart. While you were asking when the answer would come, I was strengthening the one who would eventually receive it. And while you were wondering why I seemed so quiet, I was nearer than you realized. There were things I was protecting. There were things I was arranging. There were things within you that needed time to become strong enough to remain standing when the next season arrived. You called those days empty. They were not empty. You called them wasted. They were not wasted. You called my silence distance. But my beloved, what looked like silence from where you stood was never silence from where I stood. My child, you called it silence because you could not hear the answer you were hoping for. You prayed. You waited. You watched. And when nothing seemed to change, your heart began to ask questions. Are you still there? Did you hear me? Did I ask for too much? Did I do something wrong? I heard every one of those questions, and I was not offended by them. I knew they came from a tired heart. I knew they came from someone who had waited longer than expected and was trying to understand why heaven seemed so quiet. But my beloved, my silence was never my absence. I was not far from you. I was not distracted. I was not helping everyone else and forgetting your name. I was working in places you could not see. There were doors you asked me to open that I kept closed because I knew what was waiting behind them. There were people you wanted to remain close to, but I saw what their presence would eventually cost your peace. There were answers you wanted immediately, but I knew you were not yet ready to carry what came with them. You saw only the request. I saw the full road. You saw the moment. I saw what that moment would become years later. That is why some of my answers felt slow. Not because I did not care, because I cared enough not to give you something before it was safe for your heart. There were times when I answered you with protection, and you called it disappointment. There were times when I answered you with redirection, and you called it rejection. There were times when I answered you with waiting, and you thought I had said no. But waiting was not always my refusal. Sometimes waiting was my mercy. Sometimes it was my hand gently keeping you from running into a place your spirit was not ready to stand. You wanted clarity, so I taught you patience. You wanted certainty, so I taught you trust. You wanted the door. I wanted your heart to be steady whether the door opened or not. That was the deeper work. And yes, I know it was difficult. You wanted to know what I was doing. You wanted signs. You wanted confirmation. You wanted something you could point to and say, "There, God is moving." But much of what I was doing could not be seen. Roots are like that, my child. They grow in darkness before the tree ever shows its strength. And during that season, I was growing roots in you. I was teaching you how to come to me without needing immediate proof. I was teaching you how to stay when emotion faded. I was teaching you how to listen without demanding that every answer arrive in the way you expected. You did not notice it at first, but your prayers began to change. At the beginning, you asked me to change everything around you. Later, you began asking me to change something within you. At first, you said, "Lord, remove this." Then slowly your prayer became, "Lord, teach me through this." That change mattered. That was growth. That was intimacy becoming deeper than urgency. My child, trust me, even when you cannot trace my hand. You do not need to understand every delay before you can rest in my heart. You do not need to know the entire plan before you take the next faithful step. I am not asking you to pretend the waiting was easy. I am asking you to believe it was not meaningless. There is a difference. Your pain was real. Your confusion was real. Your disappointment was real. But my presence was real too. And it remained with you through all of it, even when you could not feel me, even when the room felt empty, even when your prayers seemed to return without an answer. I was there. I was protecting. I was arranging. I was slowing certain things down. I was preventing connections you thought you needed. I was preparing other connections you did not yet know existed. I was closing paths that looked attractive but would have taken you away from peace. And I was preparing you to recognize the difference between something that looks good and something that is truly from me. That discernment could not be rushed. Some wisdom only grows through waiting. Some strength only appears after you have stood in uncertainty and chosen not to run. So do not be angry with every closed door. Do not assume every delay was against you. Do not measure my goodness only by how quickly I answered. Look deeper. There were things I kept from you because I loved you. There were places I would not let you enter because I knew you would have lost pieces of yourself there. And there were things I allowed to fall away because I knew they could not follow you into what I was preparing. My beloved, you thought I was doing nothing, but I was already making room. And sometimes, before I bring the new, I must first release you from what can no longer go with you. And I know, my child, some of those things were difficult to release. You did not understand why they had to leave. You had prayed for them. You had invested your heart in them. You had imagined a future with them still beside you. Some were relationships you thought would last. Some were plans you had carried for years. Some were opportunities that seemed so close you could almost touch them. And then something changed. A door closed. A person became distant. A plan fell apart. A path that once seemed certain suddenly disappeared beneath your feet. You asked me why. You wondered why I would allow something you loved to slip away. You wondered why I did not stop the separation. Why I did not repair the situation immediately. Why I allowed you to experience the disappointment of watching something you had prayed for become something you had to release. I heard those questions too. And my beloved, I was not ignoring your pain. I was protecting your future. There were things you wanted to keep because you could only see what they meant to you in that moment. But I could see where they were taking you. I could see what they were doing to your peace. I could see how much of yourself you were beginning to lose just to keep certain things from leaving. You were holding tighter. I was asking you to open your hands. Not because I wanted to hurt you, because I wanted to free you. There are seasons when my love gives, and there are seasons when my love removes. Both are love. You recognize my goodness easily when I place something into your hands. But can you recognize my goodness when I gently take something out of them? That is harder. I know, but some of the things you called loss were actually rescue. Some endings were protection. Some separations were redirection. Some closed doors were my mercy standing between you and something you could not yet see. You cried over what ended, but I saw what would have happened if it continued. You asked me to restore what was leaving. I was preparing to restore you, because somewhere along the way, you had begun to believe that you needed certain people, certain places, certain outcomes in order to be whole. You do not. You need me. And I will never ask you to build your identity on something that can walk away. I will never ask you to find your worth in a door that can close. I will never ask you to place the weight of your future in human hands. Your life is safest in mine. So yes, there were moments when I allowed the familiar to become uncomfortable. There were conversations that revealed what had been hidden. There were situations that exposed intentions you had not recognized. There were places where you suddenly no longer felt at peace. At first you resisted it. You tried harder. You explained more. You waited longer. You told yourself that if you were more patient, more understanding, more useful, perhaps everything would return to the way it had been. But I was not always trying to return you to what had been. Sometimes I was leading you away from it. My child, do not keep begging me to rebuild what I am asking you to release. Do not keep standing before a closed door simply because you remember how beautiful it once looked when it was open. And do not mistake familiarity for destiny. Something can be familiar and still no longer belong in your next season. Trust me enough to release what I have already loosened from your life. You do not have to hate it. You do not have to condemn the people who could not continue with you. You do not have to rewrite every memory and make it painful. You can bless what was good. You can forgive what wounded you, and you can still move forward. Release does not always require anger. Sometimes release is simply saying, Lord, I do not understand why this ended, but I trust you enough not to force it back into my hands. Give me that kind of trust. Let me carry what you cannot explain. Let me close what needs to remain closed. Let me remove the pressure you have placed upon yourself to recover everything you lost. Not everything lost must be recovered. Some things fulfilled their purpose. Some people were part of one chapter, not the entire story. Some places taught you what you needed to learn and then became too small for what I was growing inside you. That does not make the season meaningless. It means the season was complete, and I know there are still moments when you look back. I know there are names that still stir something inside you. There are opportunities you still wonder about. There are alternate versions of your life you sometimes imagine. What if that had worked? What if they had stayed? What if that door had opened? But, my beloved, peace will not be found by endlessly rewriting yesterday. Peace comes when you trust the one who already sees tomorrow. I see it. I am already there, and I know exactly what must remain behind so that you can walk freely into it. You have carried enough old weight. You have spent enough nights questioning what you could have done differently. Bring those questions to me. Then let them rest. You do not need every explanation to move forward. Sometimes my presence must be enough. Sometimes trust must walk where understanding cannot. So loosen your grip. Let your heart breathe again. You are not losing everything. You are making room. And what I am making room for will require a heart that is no longer chained to what has already ended. There are new relationships that will not require you to abandon your peace. There are new places where you will not have to shrink to belong. There are new assignments where the lessons of your past will finally make sense. But before you reach for any of that, I want you free. Free from resentment. Free from regret. Free from the need to prove that those who left were wrong about you. Free from the need to return to places I already brought you out of. Let me be enough for this moment. Stay close. Release what I'm asking you to release. You may not understand every ending today. One day, you will look back with clearer eyes. You will see that I was not taking your future away. I was clearing the path toward it. And while I was clearing what surrounded you, my child, I was doing something even deeper. I was strengthening what was within you, because the pain you thought had only wounded you was also preparing you. My beloved, I know there are parts of your story you would never have chosen. There are days you wish you could erase, words you wish you had never heard, people you wish had never wounded you, seasons you would have skipped completely if you had been given the choice. I know how deeply some things hurt, and I will never ask you to pretend they did not. Your tears were real. Your disappointment was real. The nights when your thoughts would not become quiet were real. The loneliness was real. But, my child, pain did not have the final word. What wounded you did not get to decide what you would become. While rejection tried to make you question your worth, I was teaching you that your identity could not safely rest in another person's approval. While loneliness whispered that you had been abandoned, I was drawing you closer to my presence. While failure told you to stop trying, I was teaching you humility, patience, and the courage to begin again. You thought you were only hurting, but I was also forming you. Slowly, quietly, deeply. There are things you understand about grace now because you once needed grace yourself. There are ways you recognize hidden pain because you know what it feels like to carry your own behind a smile. There is compassion in you that did not come from an easy road. There is wisdom in you that grew in places you once begged me to remove. Nothing was wasted. Hear me, my child. Nothing was wasted. Not the tears, not the waiting, not the disappointment, not even the moments when you wondered whether you would ever feel whole again. You may still carry scars, but scars are not proof that I abandoned you. They are reminders that the wound did not finish you. Look at how differently you respond now. There are things you no longer chase. There are boundaries you once felt guilty for setting. There are conversations you no longer need to win. There are people you can forgive without giving them permission to wound you again. You are learning to remain tender without becoming unguarded, to love without losing yourself, to forgive without returning to bondage, to walk away without hatred. That is growth. That is strength. So believe me when I tell you that your suffering was not meaningless. Give me the part of your story you still wish had happened differently. Give me the betrayal you still replay. Give me the failure you still use against yourself. Give me the question that still begins with, why did you allow this? You do not need every answer today. Place it in my hands. Let me redeem what you cannot rewrite. I can take the place where you felt rejected and grow compassion there. I can take loneliness and deepen your awareness of my presence. I can take the mistake that filled you with shame and use it to make you gentle with someone else's weakness. I can take what tried to silence you and give weight to your words. This is what I do. I redeem. I restore. I bring life from places you thought were finished. And one day you may meet someone standing where you once stood. You will recognize the tiredness in their eyes. You will understand what they cannot explain. And you will know how to sit beside them without pretending their pain is small. Then you will begin to see that what hurt you did not have to become your identity. It could become part of your testimony. So do not despise the person you were when you struggled. I was patient with you there. Be patient with yourself. I loved you there, and I love you here. But now, my beloved, I want you to stop seeing yourself only through the season that wounded you. You are not the rejection. You are not the failure. You are not the waiting. You are not what happened to you. Those things are part of your story. They are not your name. And before you can walk freely into what I am preparing, you must begin to see yourself the way I have seen you all along. My child, for too long you have allowed old seasons to give you old names. Weak, rejected, behind, unworthy, forgotten, not enough. You may never say these words aloud, but sometimes you live as though they are true. You hesitate when something good comes near. You question whether you deserve another beginning. You compare your journey to people who seem farther ahead, and quietly wonder if you missed your moment. My beloved, listen to me. You did not miss your moment. You are not behind. You are not disqualified, and the season that wounded you does not have the authority to name you. I do. You are mine. Before the rejection, you were mine. During the waiting, you were mine. When your faith felt strong, you were mine. And when your faith became nothing more than a tired whisper, you were still mine. Your circumstances changed. My love did not. People changed their minds about you. I did not. Doors opened and closed. My hand remained. So, stop measuring your worth by who stayed. Stop measuring your value by what you accomplished. And stop looking at another person's progress as evidence that you have failed. Their journey is not your measurement. Their timing is not your timing. I am not writing the same story with every life. Look toward me. Comparison will make you rush what I am still forming. It will make you despise quiet seasons. It will make you call yourself late when I am still leading you exactly where you need to be. You asked me for more. I began preparing you for more. But preparation did not always look like increase. Sometimes it looked like surrender. Sometimes it looked like solitude. Sometimes it looked like starting again. Sometimes it looked like learning that you could survive without the approval you once depended on. And now, you are stronger than you realize. Not because you never broke, because you learned where to go when you did. Not because you never doubted, because doubt no longer has the same power to pull you away from me. Not because you have every answer. Because you are learning that you do not need every answer to remain in my hands. That is growth. Do not overlook it because it happened quietly. I see who you are becoming. I see the wisdom you gained through mistakes you still wish you could erase. I see the compassion that grew from wounds you once thought had ruined you. I see a heart learning to choose peace instead of constantly proving itself. So when the old voice tells you that you are not enough, do not agree with it. When shame reminds you of who you used to be, remember who I say you are. When fear tells you that your opportunity has passed, remember that another person's timeline cannot cancel what I am doing in your life. You are not too late for me. You are not too broken for me. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are my child. And if your heart struggles to believe that today, begin with something simple. Say it quietly. I am still in God's hands. Again, I am still in God's hands. You do not have to shout it. Just let the truth become louder than fear. When you do not know what comes next, you are still in my hands. When the door has not opened, you are still in my hands. When you feel confident one day and uncertain the next, you are still in my hands. Your feelings do not remove you from my care. Your questions do not cancel my purpose. Your imperfect past does not erase my love. Rest there. The old season taught you, but it does not own you. The pain shaped parts of you, but it does not define you. And the waiting strengthened you, but you were never created to live forever looking backward. There comes a moment when I ask you to stop staring at the place you survived and begin looking toward where I am leading you. My child, that moment is coming, because beneath everything I have been healing, there are things I placed within you long ago. Dreams you stopped mentioning, gifts you questioned, desires you buried because disappointment made hope feel dangerous. You thought some of them had disappeared, but not everything that became quiet was dead. And now that you are beginning to remember who you are becoming ready to recognize what I placed within you. It has been quiet for a long time, but it is beginning to awaken. My beloved, there are things within you that you thought had disappeared, dreams you stopped talking about, ideas you pushed aside, desires you once brought to me with excitement, but eventually stopped mentioning because hoping began to feel dangerous. You wondered if you had imagined them. You told yourself perhaps that season had passed. Perhaps it was never meant for you. So you became quieter. You stopped expecting. You learned how to protect your heart by asking for less. I understand why. But my child, not everything that became quiet was dead. Some things were resting. Some dreams needed time. Some desires needed to remain hidden until you could carry them without allowing them to define your worth. You wanted the dream. I wanted your heart. You wanted to know when it would happen. I wanted you to know that even if it did not happen the way you imagined, you would still be mine. That is why I worked within you first. A gift without wisdom can become a burden. An opportunity without humility can pull you away from peace. And a blessing received before you know who you are can become something you use to prove your value. I did not want you living that way. I wanted you rooted, free, secure in me. So, understand this. Calling is not always loud. Purpose does not always stand where everyone can see it. Sometimes your calling appears in the way you love someone who expected to be abandoned. Sometimes it is in the patience you give to a tired person. Sometimes it is in the words you speak when someone has forgotten their worth. Sometimes it is in what you create quietly, the forgiveness you offer, the truth you choose, the courage you give to another heart. Do not measure purpose by how many people notice it. Measure it by your willingness to obey me. There is more within you than you have allowed yourself to believe. There is compassion you once called sensitivity. There is wisdom born from roads you never wanted to walk. There is a voice in you that carries more weight because you know what silence feels like. And now, some of those things are beginning to stir. You may notice it slowly. An idea returns. A desire becomes alive again. You feel drawn towards something you cannot completely explain. Do not rush it, but do not bury it again. Bring it to me. Let me show you what belongs to this season, because I am not asking you to resurrect every old dream. Some belong to an older version of you. Some were shaped by your need to be seen. You have changed since then. So listen for what I am awakening now. What comes from me will not require you to become someone false. It will draw from what I have already been forming within you, your compassion, your patience, your discernment, your humility, your willingness to serve. The things that once helped you survive may now help you strengthen someone else. The comfort you received can become comfort you offer. The grace that held you can become grace you extend. The truth that restored you can become truth you speak. This is how I redeem a story. Your life does not end with, I survived. There is more. I survived, and now I know how to sit beside someone who is still hurting. I was carried, and now I know how to walk gently with someone who is tired. Do you see it, my child? Your healing can become a doorway through which love reaches another person. So do not immediately silence what is stirring because you are afraid you might fail. Do not say, someone else could do it better. They may do it differently, but they cannot give me your obedience. Only you can do that. I am not asking you for perfection. I am asking for willingness. So if your heart is ready, give me a simple answer. Lord, I am willing. That is enough. Not, Lord, I understand everything. Not, Lord, show me the whole road. Just, Lord, I am willing. Give me the small beginning. Give me the imperfect step. Give me the idea that still feels fragile. I will show you what to do with it when the time comes. You already know that I can work deeply in things that begin quietly. Trust me here too. What I placed within you is awakening, and as it does, another voice may try to rise beside it. Fear may tell you that you are not ready. Doubt may remind you of your past. Comparison may tell you someone else is already farther ahead. Do not be surprised, and do not retreat. Sometimes resistance appears precisely when you begin stepping beyond the place where fear once kept you small. 7. My beloved, do not be afraid when fear speaks again. Do not assume you have failed simply because doubt returned. You may have thought that once you became stronger, you would never feel uncertain again. But strength does not mean you never tremble. Sometimes strength is taking the step while your hands are still shaking. Sometimes courage is moving forward while part of you remembers what happened the last time you tried. Sometimes faith is not the absence of questions. It is choosing whose voice you will follow while the questions are still there. And, my child, you know my voice better now. So when the old voices return, recognize them. You are not ready. You will fail. You are too late. Someone else can do it better. What if you hope again and end up disappointed? I know how convincing those thoughts can sound. But your past is not your prophecy. What happened before does not have the authority to decide what happens next. You have learned. You have grown. You are not standing where you once stood. Most importantly, you are not walking alone. I am with you. Do not mistake resistance for a sign that you chose the wrong road. Not every difficult step means you should turn around. Not every uncomfortable moment means I have withdrawn my hand. There will be places where I stretch you. Conversations that require courage. Decisions where the next step is clear, but the outcome is not. That space may feel frightening, but it is not empty. I am there. You keep asking yourself whether you are ready. My child, readiness does not mean knowing everything. It does not mean never feeling afraid. Sometimes readiness simply means you have learned to reach for my hand before reaching for control. Fear may knock. You do not have to let it lead. Doubt may ask questions. You do not have to let doubt make your decisions. Insecurity may remind you of your weaknesses. Remind yourself that I already knew those weaknesses when I called you. Nothing about you surprises me. So stop waiting to become a version of yourself that never needs me. I never asked you to become that person. I asked you to walk with me. One step, then another. You do not need enough courage for the entire journey today. You only need enough trust for the next step. If I ask you to speak, speak. If I ask you to begin, begin. If I ask you to forgive, forgive. And if I ask you to wait, wait without believing you have gone backward. Obedience does not always look like movement. Sometimes obedience is staying still when fear tells you to run. Sometimes it is moving when comfort tells you to stay. That is why you need my voice more than your feelings. So come closer when uncertainty rises. Do not hide your fear from me. Bring it. Tell me what you are afraid might happen. Tell me where your confidence feels small. Let me strengthen you there. Remember how many things once seemed impossible to survive. Yet here you are. You thought certain endings would destroy you. They did not. You thought silence meant I had left you. It did not. So why would I carry you this far only to abandon you when it is time to take another step? I will not. And be careful with comparison. You may see someone farther ahead and hear the thought, there is no room left for me. Do not believe it. I did not create your life as a copy of theirs. You do not need their pace. You do not need their path. You need mine. What I ask of you may begin quietly. Obey anyway. It may look small. Be faithful anyway. You already know I can do deep work in places no one sees. My child, fear does not always mean you are unready. Sometimes it simply means you are moving beyond what once felt safe. I may lead you beyond your comfort, but I will never lead you beyond my presence. So stay close. And if all you can give me today is one small yes, give me that. Lord, I will take the next step with you. That is enough. Give me the trembling yes. Give me the yes that still has questions. Your yes does not need to be loud. It only needs to be surrendered. Keep walking. Keep listening. Keep your hand in mine. But remember this too, my beloved. Fear can make you stay behind, but excitement can make you run too far ahead. You have waited a long time for change. When you finally begin to see it, do not become so eager for the next season that you run ahead of the one who prepared you for it. My beloved, I know how long you have waited for something to change. So when you finally see movement, you may feel the urge to move quickly. A door appears. A new person enters your life. An opportunity comes. Something you have prayed about suddenly seems possible. And after waiting for so long, you may think, I cannot let this pass me by. But my child, listen to me. Do not run ahead of me now. You learned how to wait with me. Now learn how to move with me. Not every open door is my door. Not every opportunity requires your yes. Not every invitation deserves your time. And not every person who enters your life is meant to walk closely with you. This is why I taught you discernment. You will need it now. Before, the challenge was trusting me when nothing seemed to be happening. Now, the challenge may be trusting me when many things begin happening at once. Do not let urgency become your guide. Let me guide you. You do not have to chase what I have prepared. You do not have to force what comes from my hand. And you do not have to live afraid that one moment of patience will cause you to lose your future. Rest. Stay close. When something appears before you, bring it to me. Ask, Lord, is this from you? Then listen. Do not ask for my direction after you have already decided what you want me to say. Come with open hands. Be willing to hear yes. Be willing to hear no. And be willing to hear not yet. You already know that not yet does not mean I have forgotten you. Sometimes I will ask you to move. Move with me. Sometimes I will ask you to wait. Wait with me. Sometimes something will look perfect on the outside, yet your spirit will have no peace. Do not ignore that. An opportunity may look impressive and still pull you away from who I have been teaching you to become. A relationship may look like everything you once wanted and still require you to abandon your peace to keep it. A path may promise quick progress, but ask you to become someone false. Come back to me. What I have for you will never require you to lose me in order to keep it. Remember that. If an opportunity gives you recognition but steals your peace, bring it to me. If a relationship requires you to silence the wisdom I have grown within you, bring it to me. If you must force something every day just to keep it alive, ask whether you are carrying what I actually gave you. My leading may stretch you. It may require courage, but beneath it there can still be a quiet knowing. I am walking with God. Learn to recognize that place. You have spent enough time striving. You have chased answers. You have chased approval. You have tried to make things happen because waiting made you afraid that nothing ever would. But your next season does not need more striving. It needs deeper surrender. Stay close to me. Before the decision, come to me. When the door opens, come to me. When it closes, come to me. When people celebrate you, come to me. When they misunderstand you, come to me. Do not allow circumstances to decide how close you stay. You learned how to depend on me when you had little else to hold. Keep depending on me when your hands begin to fill. You learned how to hear me in the quiet. Do not let noise make you forget my whisper. And do not live as though everything good is about to disappear. That fear belongs to the old season. You do not have to grab every opportunity because you are afraid another will never come. I am your source. Open your hands. Receive with gratitude. Hold with surrender. Walk with me. The right doors may feel different from the ones you once tried to force. You will not have to become smaller to walk through them. You will not have to beg people to recognize your worth. There will be places where what I have grown within you finally has room to breathe. But even then, do not worship the door. Look for me. Ask me. Listen. And when I give you peace, walk, not because you know everything, because you know the one leading you. My child, you thought I was only teaching you how to wait. I was teaching you how to follow. And as you stop forcing what is not mine and stop fearing that you will miss what is mine, you are becoming ready to recognize the doors I open. Some of them will not look the way you expected, but I know what you need. I know when you need it, and I know how to lead you there. My beloved, some of the doors I open will not look like the ones you once prayed for. You had a picture in your mind. You imagined how the answer would come, who would bring it, what it would look like, how you would know that your waiting was finally over. But my child, do not limit my answer to the shape of your expectation. I see farther than you do. I know what you need, and I know how to bring it. Some answers will arrive quietly. A conversation you almost overlook, a small opportunity, a new connection, an idea that suddenly becomes clear. Do not despise small beginnings because you expected something dramatic. You already know that I often begin my deepest work quietly. There are doors ahead that may look smaller than the ones you once begged me to open, but behind them may be greater peace, greater freedom, greater alignment with who you have become. You prayed for certain things as the person you were then, but you are not that person anymore. Your desires have changed. Your values have changed. Even your understanding of blessing has changed. There were things you once called success that would no longer satisfy your heart. There were places you desperately wanted to enter that you can now recognize were never meant to hold your peace. This is why some answers may look different. You asked me for opportunity. I may give you an assignment. You asked for recognition. I may give you a quiet place where your life deeply matters to someone. You asked me to make your life bigger. I may first make your heart freer. Do not call that a lesser blessing. Peace is a gift. Clarity is a gift. Discernment is a gift. Freedom from comparison is a gift. The ability to recognize my voice without needing everyone else's approval is a gift, and there is still more I can place in your hands. There may be people who recognize what others overlooked. There may be opportunities that connect pieces of your story you once thought had no purpose. A lesson from one season may suddenly become useful in another. A part of your story you once hid may become the very thing that helps someone trust you. And you may finally say, "Now I understand. My child, you have wondered why some things took so long. Listen carefully. I was not only preparing the door, I was preparing you to walk through it without losing yourself. There were blessings you once might have used to prove your worth. Now you can receive them with gratitude. There were opportunities you might have chased until you exhausted yourself. Now you know how to stop and listen. There were people whose approval could once control you. Now you know that your identity cannot safely live in another person's opinion. That is why preparation mattered. So when the right door opens, you do not have to enter it as the frightened version of yourself who believes every good thing might disappear. Enter with open hands. Say, "Lord, if this is from you, teach me how to carry it. Receive this truth, my beloved." You do not have to force what I have prepared. You do not have to manipulate people into recognizing you. You do not have to exhaust yourself trying to make my plan happen. You must obey. You must move when I lead. You must be faithful with what I place before you. But you do not have to become your own source. I am still your source. So if your heart is ready, whisper this: "Lord, I trust your timing." Again. "Lord, I trust your timing. Trust me when I say wait. Trust me when I say move. Trust me when I close. Trust me when I open. And trust me when my answer looks different from the one you imagined. Look for my peace. Listen for my voice. Keep your heart surrendered. Because the door is not your foundation. I am. The new season is not your identity. You are mine before it begins, while you walk through it, and after it changes again. Never forget that. For so long your question has been, "When, Lord? When will the door open? When will something change?" But now I want to place a different question before you. When I say move, will you move with me? When I place the next step before you, will you take it without demanding to see the entire road? Because, my child, you are no longer standing where you began. You have been prepared. You have been strengthened. You have learned my voice in the quiet. And now it is time to walk into what all that preparation was leading you toward. My beloved child, now it is time to walk. Not because every question has been answered. Not because you can see the entire road. Not because fear will never speak again. But because you know something now that you did not know when this season began. You know where to place your hand. Place it in mine. You are not the same person who entered the waiting. You asked me to change your circumstances. I began changing your heart. You asked for answers. You learned trust. You asked for open doors. You learned discernment. You asked me to hurry, and I taught you how to follow. Do not overlook what happened simply because much of it happened quietly. You are stronger now. Not harder, not louder. Stronger. You know that a closed door does not mean your story is over. You know that rejection cannot erase your worth. You know that uncertainty does not have to steal your peace. And you know that my silence does not mean my absence. Carry those truths with you. You will need them. Because I am not promising that every road ahead will be easy. There will still be moments when you must choose faith before you have proof. There will still be decisions where you wish you could see farther. But when those moments come, remember what I taught you here. Come back to me. Stay close. Do not rush ahead. Do not retreat in fear. Walk with me. One faithful step at a time. If I ask you to speak, speak. If I ask you to begin, begin. If I ask you to release, release. If I ask you to rest, rest. And if I ask you to wait again, do not believe you have gone backward. You know now that waiting with me is never empty. My child, the hour I prepared you for may not arrive with applause. It may begin quietly. One conversation, one opportunity, one act of courage, one decision to obey where you once would have been afraid. Pay attention to the small things. Do not wait for something dramatic before you believe I am leading you. Purpose often unfolds through surrendered steps. And remember this, above everything else. Do not become so focused on where I am taking you that you forget to remain close to me. Do not love the promise more than my presence. Do not become so excited about an open door that you forget the one who opened it. What I place in your hands must never become more precious than the hand that gives it. Stay with me. When morning comes, come to me. When your heart is peaceful, come to me. When you are uncertain, come to me. When things begin going well, come to me. Let my presence remain your home. You do not have to walk perfectly. You only have to keep returning. When fear comes, return. When you make a mistake, return. When comparison becomes loud, return. When you begin trying to control everything again, return. I will meet you there, again and again. So, release your future into my hands now. Release the pressure to make everything happen at once. Release the fear that you will miss what I have for you. You do not need to carry tomorrow today. Walk with me here. And if your heart is ready, whisper this. Lord, I trust you with what comes next. I trust the doors you closed. I trust the doors you will open. I trust what you removed. I trust what you are awakening within me. I trust your timing, and I trust your hand. Let that be enough. You do not need every answer. You need my presence. You do not need to know the whole road. You need the next faithful step. You do not need to become fearless. You need to remain surrendered. My beloved, you were never forgotten. You were never abandoned. The waiting was not empty. The silence was not wasted. You were being prepared. You were being strengthened. You were learning my voice. And now, carry what you learned without carrying the chains of the season that taught you. Carry the wisdom. Carry the compassion. Carry the discernment. But leave the shame. Leave the regret. Leave the need to prove yourself. Take my hand instead. And if these words have met you in a season of waiting, carry this hope gently to someone whose heart is tired. Remind them that silence does not mean God has forgotten them. Let the comfort you received become comfort you offer. Then keep walking, quietly, faithfully, one step at a time. Stay close, my child. You are not late. You are being prepared, and you do not have to force what comes next. Walk with me into it. My hand is still holding you. My presence is still with you. My love has not changed. Today, take the next step with me. Tomorrow, we will take another. Together. Amen.